Namaskaram. In this video, we shall talk about Jainism as a philosophical school of ancient India. Jainism is traditionally associated with 24 Tirthankars, the spiritual teachers who have attained enlightenment in the northern part of India. The historical founder is often considered to be Mahavira, 599 to 527 BCE, who is the 24th Tirthankara, although Jainism has roots in ancient pre-Vedic traditions. Talking about Jainism, it is with Mahavira Jaina, the 24th Tirthankar, that Jainism as a philosophy starts in India, though Jainism has roots in ancient pre-Vedic traditions with all the earlier 23 Tirthankars. Jainism has developed over thousands of years with a rich tradition of philosophical and ethical teachings. The very first foundational concepts of Jainism is non-violence or ahimsa. The central tenet of Jainism is ahimsa or non-violence, and Jains believe that all living beings have a soul and are thus deserving of respect and compassion. Violence, whether physical, verbal or mental, mano, vak, kaya, physical, verbal or mental, is considered harmful and should be avoided at all costs. Non-possessiveness or aparigraha is the most interesting foundational principle of Jainism. It emphasizes the detachment from the material possessions and desires. Aparigraha refers to non-attachment and the avoidance of greed and accumulation of any type of wealth. The third foundational stone of Jainism is non-absolutism or anekavada. Jainism teaches that the reality is complex and multifaceted. Though the reality is one, the interpretation of reality or truth is in different types. Anekavada asserts that there is no single perspective that can capture the full truth in its essence or core, and that understanding requires an appreciation of multiple viewpoints, and all points are right. This essentially becomes the understanding of Indians and Indianism as such. There are three jewels, Ratnatraya, that Jainism believes in. Number one is right faith, Samyaka Darshana, as it is called. Developing a correct understanding of the nature of reality, including the nature of the soul and the importance of ethical conduct, is the first jewel. Right knowledge is the second jewel, Samayaka Jnana. Gaining insight into the true nature of existence and the principles of Jaina philosophy believe in understanding the true nature of existence as the most important aspect of knowledge. So, right knowledge, Samayaka Jnana, becomes the second jewel. The third jewel is right conduct, Samayaka Charitra. Practicing ethical conduct in accordance with the Jain teachings, including the 5 great vows, the Mahavratas, as they are called, described by monks if you are leading the life of monastery, and lesser vows which are called as Anuvratas for the ordinary people. So Mahavratas are applied to the monks staying in monastery, and Anuvratas are applied for the common man staying in the society. Let us see each. Let us talk about the Mahavratas first. Ahimsa is the first Mahavrata, commitment to non-violence of all sorts. Satyam, truthfulness or honesty, is the second vow. Asteyam, non-stealing and respect for others' property, is the third vow. Brahmacharyam is chastity and control over sexual desires of the individual, for monks and for nuns, both. And aparigraha. Aparigraha is renunciation of possessions and non-attachment. In fact, the Buddhist vows or maybe the Jainist vows are exactly the same as Patanjali has given in his Yoga Sutras in Yama. Yes or no? So Ahimsa, Asteyam, Satyam, Brahmacharyam and Aparigraha are the 5 great vows that are prescribed for the nuns as well as monks in the monastery. They are called as the Mahavratas. Let us now look at the 5 lesser vows or the anuvratas that are applied to the common man living in the society. The vows remain the same, but the intensity might be little less. So ahimsa, which is modified for the common man, will be to include non-violence in the daily life. Do all the daily chores, but lead an ahimsak life in the daily life. Similarly, satyam would mean truthfulness adjusted to the practicalities of a lay life of a common man. Asteyam is non-stealing. It is the same for the Mahavrata and the Anuvrata, but taking into account everyday context for a common man of not taking anything from others is Asteyam. Similarly, Brahmacharyam is slightly modified because it is a lesser vow or Anuvrata. It is modified to reflect the ethical conduct and relationships. And Aparigraha is encouragement of minimal attachment balanced with practical living. Don't accumulate wealth at all. Live with the minimal requirements in a society. Leading a normal life is the lesser vow for Anuvratas. And for a monk or a nun, non-attachment and not accumulating any sort of wealth in the monastery. Whereas Aparigraha for the normal man is live with the minimal things. So ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, brahmacharyam, aparigraha are common for Mahavratas and Anuvratas also. Mahavratas 100% they are applicable. Anuvratas they could be slightly changed as per the requirement of society while living a social life by the common man. In Jainism, life is wonderful with the Jain cosmology because the Jain cosmology describes the universe as an eternal and cyclical, divided into 3 realms: the upper world or the heaven, the middle world or the earth, and the lower world or the hell, in which every living being possesses an eternal soul or jiva that is subjected to karma. The soul's goal is to achieve liberation by shedding accumulated wealth. Jiva, according to Jainism, is the living soul which is eternal and subject to the cycle of birth and rebirth. And Ajiva, which is a non-living matter, according to Jainism, includes the physical elements and the concept of space and time. Ajiva interacts with Jiva, that is, non-living matter interacts with the living soul and affects its journey through samsara, according to Jainism. Syadvada, or the theory of relativity, according to Jainism, is that Syadvada is the theory of conditional assertion, which posits that truth can be expressed from different perspectives and conditions. It complements the Anekavada by emphasizing that statements and beliefs are relative and context and perspective. There are 24 Tirthankars in Jainism who have propagated all this type of life. The Tirthankars are revered as the spiritual teachers who have achieved enlightenment and guide others to the path of liberation. They provide teachings and set examples of how to attain spiritual liberation, who become the model for the common man in Jainism. According to Jainism, karma is that everywhere, every action, every thought or word accumulates karma that affects one's future experiences and rebirths. Karma binds the soul to the cycle of birth and rebirth. Similarly, liberation, according to Jainism, is moksha or nirvana. The ultimate goal in Jainism is to achieve the liberation from the cycle of samsara. Samsara is birth and rebirth and the cycle of it, and the liberation from samsara is moksha. This is attained through the eradication of karma and the realization of the soul's true nature through jnana. The canonical texts of Jainism is called as agamas. The canonical scriptures of Jainism, which include the teachings of all the Tirthankars, are divided into various texts that cover the philosophy, ethics, and rituals. There are various commentaries and philosophical texts that are written by Jain scholars, such as the works of Acharya Umaswati and Acharya Kunda. There are a number of Jain sects. The one is called as Digambara and the other is called as Svetambara. One of the major sects which emphasizes ascetic practices and the belief that renunciation is essential for liberation is called as Digambara. The Digambara monks traditionally do not wear any clothes. While another major sect which allows for some materialist possessions and emphasizes a different interpretation of Jaina scriptures and practices are called as Svetambaras. The Svetambara monks wear white robes. There are a number of YouTube videos that are available related to Jainism, Hinduism, and Buddhism, and a sort of comparison between Jainism, Hinduism, and Buddhism. I would advise my students to watch all these videos, some of which I'll be posting in your Google Classroom. In fact, I personally believe that Sanatana Dharma of this Indian soil, which could be equated with Hinduism, is the most important aspect of the understanding of life. Jainism and Buddhism are the two other offshoots of the same Sanatana Dharma, interpreted in different times in different ways on the Indian soil. They are not completely different religions, but they are the different aspects of understanding the Indian way of life and Indian philosophy, is my belief. I hope you would be watching and reading books for your own sake and developing your own opinion. All the very best to have a comprehensive idea about the Indian philosophical systems that existed in ancient India and having gone through this journey along with me. Thank you very much for being a part of this beautiful video. See you in the next video. Bye for now. Namaskaram.